In this video, I'm going to share with you guys 5 things I wish I knew before I started streaming back in 2017. Now, before we jump into these 5 things, I do want to share with you guys the sponsor of today's video, which also happens to be something I wish was around when I started streaming, and that is Owned Pro. Owned Pro is a revolutionary streaming tool with everything you need to run your streams, as well as access to all the OwnStream graphics packages. Yes, that's right, over 600 professionally made stream packages that can be loaded directly into OBS through their OBS plugin, making your entire stream setup take only a few minutes. Owned Pro has also teamed up with Epidemic Sounds to include copyright-free music and sound effects you can use on your stream worry-free. So check out the link in the description of this video and use code EagleGarrett at checkout to get 50% off a pro plan today. So go check out Owned Pro, you guys. A massive thank you to Owned for sponsoring this video. I wish this had been around when I first started streaming because it would have made things so much easier, but it's here for you now. Make sure you check out that link in the description of this video and use my code to save 50% off. So let's jump into the 5 things I wish I knew before I started streaming on Twitch back in 2017. This was a little over 5 years ago at the point of recording this video, so it was early on in the streaming game for me, and for a lot of people, it was kind of before the whole big Ninja blow up and Twitch becoming a little bit more mainstream and all that kind of stuff. But I wish I'd known this stuff when I went into streaming because I ended up learning some of it the hard way. The very first thing that I did not know when I first started streaming that is now kind of the standard bit of information that all streamers need to understand if you want to grow is that you cannot just create content on Twitch. You need to create content on other platforms that are more discoverable. And you've heard that probably 1,000 times. But let me explain to you why that's so important. When I first started streaming on Twitch, I started out from zero. I wasn't creating content on YouTube. I had done so in the past, but it had been a couple of years since my last video. I wasn't really creating content on Twitter or anywhere else. And I decided to start streaming, and I started streaming with 0 followers. My wife, a couple of my friends, and their wives all followed me, and that was all I had. And so it took me 6 months to get to 100 followers. I just wasn't growing. 6 months to get to 100 followers. Now, I was very proud of my 100 followers, and when we got to that 100 follower mark, we had a big celebration for it and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is that's a little too long, especially when you can speed the process up if you're interested in doing this as maybe a career at some point by creating content on places like YouTube or TikTok and you know, places that have discoverable platforms that push your content out via an algorithm to other people, right? And so basically I did not do this for the longest time. Now, eventually I did start to understand this concept. And when I started producing videos on YouTube, guess what happened? I grew quite a bit on my Twitch stream as well because my YouTube videos were popping off. And so my Twitch stream had people coming over from YouTube and finding me through those videos. And so it was one of those things I just did not really fully realize the significance of that until I realized how fast I was growing in just a matter of a couple of days compared to 6 months. There were days where I was getting close to 100 followers just off of a couple of YouTube videos that I'd made, let alone me actually streaming. Whereas before it took me 6 months to hit 100 followers. So it was slow growth in the beginning, but as soon as I captured this concept and started utilizing it, it really started to ramp up my growth on Twitch. So make sure that you're creating content on places like YouTube or TikTok. And I'll tell you right now, the #1 best place to create content is YouTube. TikTok is also a good one. Their algorithm is fantastic, but YouTube usually tends to have more evergreen content, which means content can live on YouTube longer and it's more searchable for longer periods of time than TikTok is. And so it's really the best place to be putting up content. And honestly, if you can do both, even better, right? But YouTube is the big secret. Create content on there, and if you can make it searchable and you can learn thumbnails and titles and make good content and perfect that craft, you're gonna start growing a lot faster than if you're just streaming on Twitch alone. Now, the second thing that I didn't know going into streaming that I picked up on pretty quickly was that I just needed to get the right gear to do what I was going to be doing on stream. And what I mean by that is that when I first started streaming, I was using a laptop and the keyboard on the laptop and a Microsoft wireless mouse. Those are not gaming products. The laptop was a gaming laptop, granted, but the mouse was not a gaming mouse. And what was happening is I didn't know how to, like, you know, up the frames per second on my laptop. So my refresh rate of my screen was not actually at 60 frames a second. It was at 30, and I didn't know how to bump that up. My mouse didn't have a very fast response time or tick rate. So like it wasn't very responsive when I was playing H1Z1 at the time. And so I was playing a battle royale, wasn't doing very well. The keyboard had the, you know, little chiclet keys, so it was hard to tell where the keys were. So basically what I'm saying is it was pretty tough to watch me play early on. Okay. One second. Oh, crap. Oh my gosh. Oh, I was not very good. I kind of stunk, and it was because I was not only getting used to mouse and keyboard again coming from console, but I was also using a business wireless mouse and a keyboard that was not conducive for, you know, playing FPS games or BR games. So what I'm saying is, if I had known earlier on that those things would not have worked for gaming as well as an actual gaming keyboard or, you know, a mechanical keyboard and a gaming mouse, then I would have done better earlier on. As soon as I upgraded to those two pieces of equipment to produce better content when it comes to the actual gameplay, my gameplay improved drastically. Okay, and obviously I had to practice. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to just get a mouse and a keyboard and be 1,000 times better, but you will be able to practice better and get better, I think, at a quicker pace when you're using more precision instruments. It's like if you go play baseball with a broomstick, right? You might be able to hit the ball with the broomstick, but you're not going to be hitting grand slams unless you have a bat, right? A baseball bat, something that's meant for that game. So the whole idea is that when you're gaming, if you want to be in tip-top shape, that you use equipment that's going to allow you to be your best. And for me, when I upgraded my mouse and I upgraded my keyboard, that was a night and day difference in not only how much I enjoyed the games that I was playing, but also in the content that I was putting out there for people to watch. So this is one that people don't really talk about. It's kind of a no-brainer. Get yourself a gaming PC, or, you know, make sure you have a good controller or whatever. But at the same time, for somebody like me, I just used what I had, and I should have probably started out playing a game that wasn't so intensive with movement and precision movement, because when you're playing a BR like H1Z1, where you're trying to hit like little tiny pixels of somebody's head from long distances, you've really got to be able to aim quickly and aim efficiently. So make sure you just have the right equipment for what you're trying to do, because you are trying to produce content for people. And I quickly understood this and fixed it, but in the early days, it wasn't the best gameplay. It was not the best gameplay. All right, number 3 is a big one, and this is something that I actually got right fairly early on in my streaming career, but I didn't go into streaming knowing this, and it's something I highly recommend. But that is to decide what type of community you want to cultivate from the very beginning of your stream, and start cultivating it early on, right? Even when you only have 1 or 2 viewers, start cultivating the community that you want. So if you don't want a toxic chat and you don't want a toxic community, don't allow toxicity to exist in your chat early on when you're small. Now you may be thinking, well, if I only have 1 or 2 viewers and they're both toxic, you're telling me that I need to either time out or ban the only 2 viewers I have. And the reality is, yes, you do. If you've got 2 viewers and they know they're your only viewers and they feel like they can mistreat you or act unbecomingly in your chat, and you're trying to cultivate a non-toxic or encouraging community, then you're gonna have to lay the law down as to what type of community you have. That way, when the right people come along, they're not turned away by the wrong type of people, right? Or people that are not respecting your community. Now, if you're like, I don't care, I want my chat to run wild and I don't want to have, hardly any moderation other than what's necessary for TOS, then you can do that as well. But whatever you start cultivating early on in your streaming career is basically where you're going to go with it. And it's a lot harder to change the direction of your community as you grow and further on down the line, as you've already, grown up in a certain type of environment. It's going to be a lot harder to change that than it is if you make that decision in the beginning of your stream. So just decide, do I want to have a family-friendly community or not? Do I want to have a toxic chat or not? Do I want to allow people to, say this specific kind of joke or not? Like that's kind of the kind of stuff that you need to decide early on. Now, remember, Twitch also has terms of service, right? And if you're going to be on Twitch, you need to abide by those. So if anybody's breaking terms of service, it doesn't matter what kind of community you ultimately want to have. If they're breaking terms of service, you're not going to be able to stream on Twitch for very long if you're allowing that to happen. So you've got to moderate no matter what when it comes to TOS. But beyond TOS, the terms of service of Twitch or wherever you're streaming, that's where you've got to make that decision, and the earlier the better. Number 4 is something that I learned over time, and I actually had a very unique opportunity to learn this, but I used to think that hosts and raids from other bigger streamers were going to change the ball game for me. It was going to take me from being a small streamer to a huge streamer, right? That I was going to, if I ever got a host or a raid by a big streamer, that was just going to boost me into the stratosphere. And in some respects it helps, but in other respects it doesn't. And what I mean by that is I actually had the opportunity, and very, very blessed by this opportunity, to be hosted by the one and only Tim the Tap Man, who is now on YouTube. But Tim started out on Twitch, and for most of my streaming career, Tim was on Twitch. And Tim actually ended up hosting / rating my channel, I think around 7 times in the course of a couple of years. Very, very blessed. Tim was a huge blessing to our community and bringing his community over. And at the peak, one of the largest raids that I ever got from Tim, and that I've ever had, period, was for over 88,000 viewers. That's right. I was hosted with over 88,000 viewers on my channel. So I have had almost 100,000 viewers on my channel at one time before. It says, I saw your video of the mistakes not to do if you are a new streamer. It really helped me. Thanks. Dude, you're welcome. You're like, no problem, man. Whoa! Whoa! Hold up! Hold up! High fives out to everybody. Guys coming over from the Tim host of, goodness gracious, bro. 88,000? But let me tell you something. Even though I gained a bunch of follows and we had some lifelong community members that are still in my community to this day from some of those Tim raids, the raid and the host itself is not going to be what gets you to that next level. Because here's the reality. After that host and raid, the very next day, I fired up the stream and I had pretty much the same viewership I had the day before. Right? So I used to think the moment that happens, that's what's going to be, you know, the moment that anybody hosts or raids me, that's going to launch me into the stratosphere. But it doesn't, right? You can't rely on a host or raid. They're very nice. They do bring a lot of hype. You will grow in followers. You may get some big support out of it. People may come in and support with the hype and the train and things like that. But the reality is, it's not, you can't rely on it. You cannot rely on it. And as blessed as I was to have 88,000 people in my stream, I don't stream for 88,000 people today. You still got to put in the hard work. There's not an easy way to growth. You know, it's much faster to grow by putting videos out on YouTube than it is to rely on a host or raid. Because 1, you're not guaranteed a host or raid will come in, right? 2, even if it does, it doesn't mean that you're going to get hundreds or thousands of viewers from that point on. It's really going to be more about you putting in the hard work and being thankful for those opportunities if they do come along, but realizing that it's not going to be sustainable if you're not putting in the work yourself. So hosts and raids are not going to make you a big streamer. They're very nice, but I kind of learned that in the long haul that, you know, it's more based on me and my content than it is on just getting a bunch of, you know, 1,000 or thousands of people to come over to my stream because of somebody else and their generosity. And the 5th thing that I wished I had known before I started streaming, and I learned the hard way as well, was that streaming takes almost as much time offline as it does when you're online. When you're streaming, you're spending 4, 5, 6, 8 hours a day, maybe more, streaming a particular game or some type of content. But what I didn't know, and I thought at the time, and this is why it took me 6 months to get to 100 followers, I thought at the time, oh, I like streaming better because I can go live, I can, you know, produce content for however many hours, I can end the stream, and that's it. But again, it took me 6 months to get 100 followers. And what I learned was that's not it. You still got to do all your graphics. You got to do all your overlays, your emotes, things like that, or hire someone to do them. You know, you've still got to produce content on other platforms because otherwise no one's going to find your stream. And I ended up realizing that I needed to spend as much time offline working on the stream as I did while I was live. In fact, in most cases, you spend more time not live working on your stream than you do when you're actually live. And this is something that people learn the hard way, or if they never learn, you know, it could cause them to spend years without any significant types of growth or things like that. It's literally going to take you as much work offline or more than it is when you're online if you want to make this a career. Now, all of this is, you know, in the perspective of somebody who's going after streaming as a career or a hobby, or you're just looking for some type of growth. If you're just doing it for fun and you don't really care about growing, you don't really care that it takes 6 months to get 100 followers, things like that, you just want to do it for your friends and the few people that come by, then don't worry about it. It's okay. You don't have to have that same goal. But for me, I found out that I love streaming and I wanted to make it a career. So in that regard, I was pursuing it like a career. How can I do better? How can I grow? You know, how can I, be the best streamer that I can be? And you learn that it takes a lot more work, right? It takes a lot more work than people give it credit for. And you've got to balance that with your other priorities, right? You got to balance that with family. You got to balance that with friends. You got to balance that with your own health. And so it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. It takes a lot of work. It's not an easy process. And if anybody tells you that streaming is easy and that streamers, you know, just sit around and play games all day and that's it, they probably have never been a successful streamer at all. Probably never even streamed before, and they don't really know what they're talking about. It's more than a full-time job. I actually spend more time working on the stream and my YouTube channel and all this content that I'm producing than I did at some of my 9-to-5 jobs when I worked 40 hours a week regularly. And so, but I love it, and if you love it, then it's worth the time investment. But you still got to balance it out with other priorities as well. So just understand what you're getting into when you get into streaming. If you're wanting to make it a career, it's gonna take a lot more work than just going live. But there it is, you guys. Those are the 5 things I wish I knew before I started streaming back in 2017. I have since learned those things and had to make the proper adjustments, and those adjustments have proven to be beneficial quite a bit. So I'm sharing them with you. I hope they've been helpful. If you like this video or you've got any other comments about this stuff, things that you've learned from your streaming career, leave them in the comments of this video. Of course, like I said, if you like it, hit the like button for me. That would greatly be appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like this when they come out, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I would really appreciate that as well. In addition to that, you can swing by my stream at twitch.tv/EagleGarrett anytime. We would love to have you over there playing games, hanging out, having good conversations, and feel free to ask me any questions you may have. We also have a great community on Discord at discord.gg/Phlox, so swing by there, join us. All kinds of cool things happening in the Discord, and I also make a lot of content about Discord, so you'll find some good stuff in there as well. Last but not least, you can find me on all the social media. I'm on Twitter the most, so if you want to get a hold of me, tweet at me, but you can find me in all these places. Links for everything down in the description of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, until the next video, rock on, peace out, God bless, and last but not least, cacao! They're shooting at me. Are you kidding me?
I think the bots are.
Oh, it is the bots, yeah. I was about to say, like, did they make it over here that quickly? That's crazy. Excuse me. Excuse me. Wow, they cracked me. What in the world? I didn't even mess with them.
Oh,
no way! No way! They literally actually pulled an actual 200 IQ play on me right there.
How are they? I'm terrified of these guys. Are they pushing? These bots are insane.